Penelope Hohenstein says, the biggest cliche is probably don't drop the soap. Well, you're right. That probably is the biggest cliche. And I always think it's so stupid. I mean, I heard it too before I had ever went to prison. But, man, I can tell you right now that there is nothing that happens when you drop the soap in prison. The only thing that happens is you bend over and pick it up. Worst case scenario, there might be a few pubic hairs stuck to it when you pick it up. Maybe yours, maybe someone else's. And continue your shower. Never seen anything ever happen to anyone once they've dropped the soap in a prison shower. Metahuman Macaluco says, have you ever personally made or seen someone make toilet wine? Or is this just a misconception of, yes and no. Now, if we're just talking wine in prison from the various ingredients and stuff like that that are available to the prisoners and that they're able to get their hands on, yes, I see them make it all the time. I used to drink it. Everybody does. They love it. It's actually pretty strong. The only part that's not really true about that, what you're asking, is toilet wine. It's another pretty good cliche, and before I went to prison, I had heard of it too, and I figured people made toilet wine in there. But when you get there, I kind of just realized, why would inmates make wine in a toilet when you could use literally anything else that holds liquid? Most of them just use a clean trash bag. There is no shortage of trash bags. It's kind of handed out to the inmates just every day to kind of clean up all the trash and various stuff, old trays, styrofoam trays around the cell block. So it's nothing to get your hands on one or two clean, brand new trash bags, and you just put all your ingredients and stuff in there, and you just tie it real tight, and you cook it all in that trash bag. And that's actually how they sell it. They'll pull up with, they'll say, I got 1 gallon, I got 2 gallons, I got 1.5 gallons, and it's in the trash bag. You can just buy it. Odie says, are there some of the chiller guards which are kind of more well respected and treated more friendly among the inmates, or is being friendly with the guards just flat out snitch behavior and to be avoided? Well, first of all, there's definitely, guards in there who are not respected at all, and they don't respect you one bit, and it's just, there's no love there on either side for anyone. But with that being said, there's absolutely plenty of prison guards that I've met over the years who are very cool, very respectful, and therefore respectable guys. They're really cool, laid back, chill. And it's just kind of a sliding scale. How cool are they? How laid back are they? How respectful are they? You have ones who kind of go out of their way to make it a point to show, that I do respect you. I see you as another human being, not just an inmate. And, that definitely goes a long way. I will say, as much respect as that officer gives to inmates, he absolutely is going to get that respect back in different little ways. We'd be here all day going into it, but definitely goes both ways, that respect. So no, it's not a problem. To answer the second part of your question, it's not a problem at all to be friendly with these guards. I mean, as long as you're not up to something or it's suspected you're up to something. There's guys who talk to guards all day. That's actually a good idea. You want to build rapport. You want to, have some friendly small talk with guards and, just kind of get them on your side. A lot of guys seek them out and whether falsely or genuinely try to build somewhat of a relationship, a friendship with these guards. And maybe that's just so they'll kind of overlook some things. Maybe if they happen to roll up on them one day in their cell and catch them doing something they're not supposed to do. And we're on pretty good terms. We're good with each other. I'm just going to keep walking, pretend I didn't see that. Whereas someone who hasn't done that, he may just simply do his job and, follow the procedures on that. There's plenty of ways and reasons why it's actually a pretty good idea to, have some conversations with these guards. I've actually been in several cell blocks where if you just have, if you haven't built any type of conversation or back and forth, at least some kind of basic friendship, I guess you could call it, with any prison guard, any member of the prison staff on that yard, no one, you hadn't even tried, you're kind of looked down upon. It's kind of seen like, man, you just don't have any level of finesse about you at all, because there's so many benefits to doing that and talking to these guards, as long as you're not snitching or saying stuff you shouldn't be saying as an inmate that's going to get you issues with the other inmates. Cooper says, I've heard around Christmas time and Thanksgiving they give decent food. I'm guessing you mean a little bit more decent than usual because it's Christmas time and Thanksgiving. So is this true? Real quick, I couldn't help but notice this reply from Deborah Belts. When you are incarcerated, you are not there to get good food. You will get what the taxpayers can afford. If you think it's unfair, it would behoove you not to go to jail. Work, stay out of trouble, and buy your own food. That would be your best bet. Okay, Deborah, that's not what we were asking. We didn't say we should get a 5-star meal here. He's just asking, do we get Deborah, don't let the fact that these inmates get one extra slice of cheese on their sandwich for Christmas upset you that much. Anyways, they do specifically only for Christmas and Thanksgiving. So it's funny you asked about just those two holiday occasions specifically. Those are really the only ones where you'll get anything out of the ordinary schedule of the food that's served each day of the week. I would imagine it's different at every prison, but I know at my prison, for Thanksgiving, we got like a slice of turkey out of one of those little packs, that you just peel off. They peeled us off a slice of turkey and slapped it down on there and probably put a scoop of cranberries, or what do they call that? Cranberry sauce, something. Other than that, I think for Christmas, it's actually a little worse. You get your normal tray, but then they slide you in a little brown paper sack lunch, and it's got just like a regular fix your own cheese and ham sandwich or something with a little pack of cookies. Not the good kind that tastes like chalk. Ken Zach says, JSP, Zach Man here. What's up, Zach Man? Is there any truth to the outside folklore that someone who takes a child's life is returned the favor inside? Well, there's definitely some truth to it, but I can't say that that's a rule that every time with every person, every situation, that's exactly what happens, and it's guarantee it. Like the grass is green and the sky is blue. If you're in there for killing a child, someone is going to kill you for it. Can't say that. Now, there's definitely instances where guys who are in there for that were killed because of that. I would say it's probably more likely that they would be killed or just harm specifically because of the charge they're in prison for has come to that inmate when maybe they did kill a child, but there was also some involvement of molestation or sexual abuse to that child, or even if they didn't kill the child and there's just an inmate who's in there for molesting a child or any type of pedophilia related crimes, absolutely. It's very likely that something's going to happen to them, but these days, not so much, and it doesn't happen as often as it used to because they've come to know that that's going to happen to these people when they get in general population. So either they're kept in protective custody or they've started to create these designated areas of these prisons where, maybe there's not a big sign outside of the building that says, hey, here's for all the child killers and child predators. But, that's where they place those guys. They kind of group them all together because if they're all there for the same thing in one building, they're not going to hurt each other for their crimes. They all have those crimes. So they've learned to kind of keep those people separated and isolated because, something will happen to them. But it doesn't happen as often as it used to. Wheelchair Charlie says, is there a booty bandit in every prison? Well, as far as booty bandit, I don't know if it's in every prison. There's certainly some in many prisons, but it's not a guarantee. There's not always 100% for sure in any given cell block that you go to at any prison. From my understanding, some prisons, just depends on the state and the environment in that prison. Some states are fine with when you say booty bandit, I'm saying a forceful sexual assault against the will of another inmate by an inmate. Some prisons, the inmates are okay with that. They encourage that. There's no issues. But in other prisons, like the prison I spent my 10 years in, there's zero tolerance for that. even with the inmates, not just the staff. They're not okay with that. It's frowned upon. And if you try to do it, or you are known to do it, or they find out you've done it, they're going to handle that themselves. They're going to, I mean, you will see a cell block come together like never before to get you out of there. They're not going to live there with you. We're not going to have this happening in our cell block. Like, of all the things we got to worry about, that is not going to be one of them. You're out of here, buddy. So they don't really last or survive or too much attempt it anymore in my prisons and in many prisons, I'm sure. Now, aside from just a booty bandit, I mean, if we're talking sex between guys, male inmates, that isn't like a forceful, unwanted assault with these inmates, and it's something that both of them want to do, and they're just having sex. I would say it's a pretty safe bet that there's at least one or two in any given cell block who is interested in that. Do they do it and participate in it and actually go through with it? Sometimes they do, some areas they don't. Maybe that particular prison just frowns upon that and they're not okay with that. Like I said, other prisons are. Maybe they're in a gang. A lot of these gangs have very specific rules that you are not allowed to engage in any homosexual activity of any kind, whether it's against someone's will or both of you want to do it. You're not allowed to do it. And if they find out you have, or a lot of times even suspect you have, you're out of there. And, you know, they don't just send you off with a wave and a handshake. Roxanne Moreno says, I always believe if you were in the Mafia, when you go to prison, you got to run the joint. You got special food, you're allowed to wear your own clothes, smoke inside, etc. Any truth to that? Well, number one, I'm not in the Mafia. I've never come across anyone in prison who was in the Mafia. I feel like that the answer to this question nowadays is much different than the answer would have been back in the day when, you know, the Mafia was really at its height of power and, you know, just what it was being the Mafia. These days, I don't think just being in the Mafia would really get you those specific privileges. I mean, there's lots of powerful guys who, you know, it's not the Mafia, but it's just as ruthless and powerful and influential of a gang and organization structures. There's a lot of top guys and very influential and powerful guys who are incarcerated who, you know, they don't get those treatments. Do they get special treatments, or do they get, you know, maybe some perks and benefits that other inmates wouldn't get? Yeah, just because of who they are. And I mean, that's some of that maybe comes from the staff, and, you know, a lot of it just comes in the form of the treatment from the other inmates because of who that inmate is. As far as wearing your own clothes, like just, you know, your favorite pair of blue jeans and your favorite tennis shoes, no, I don't. They couldn't do that. That's a security risk. You can't just walk around in normal clothes because it'd be too easy to just walk out and disguise yourself as a civilian. You know, because there are staff members who walk around there who aren't just in prison guard uniform. They act, you know, maintenance men, you know, plenty of positions and employees at prisons who are just dressed normal. So you definitely couldn't dress like that. And if you're caught with normal clothes in prison, as far as I know, they actually treat it as an attempted escape charge just for being in the possession of those clothes. Special food, I mean, it could happen. I mean, this, you know, if you're thinking like, you know, all 3 meals every day, you know, every week for the entirety of your prison sentence, I mean, just no, that's just unrealistic. But I mean, you know, here and there, could they get some special food items that you don't normally have access to as an inmate? Yeah. I mean, I have footage myself in my other videos of me and some other inmates who got pizza delivered. You know, I mean, sometimes you just, you know, you get the opportunity. You get a cool guard, and maybe it's a slow day. It's on the weekend. You know, there's only like 1/3 of the usual staff working, and everyone's cool. And, you know, they let you order these pizzas, and the guard pretends that it's for him, and he puts it in the styrofoam trays, which are the usual trays inmates have their food put in when it's dinner time, chow time, whatever, and the food's brought to them. So yeah, I mean, it's not hard to have it all set up and coordinated if you really want to, and you pay the money and you're cool enough, you've built up a good relationship with the right prison guard and prison staff, then yeah, little things like that. But that's once in a blue moon. I mean, that can't happen every day or even really every week, you know? So, I mean, yeah, but that's not a privilege that only Mafia members can get. You know, I guess the things you're asking, they can happen, but anybody with the right connections and, you know, money and a little, a little finesse about themselves can get that stuff. And, smoking in prison, you asked, everybody does that. Everybody smokes, pretty much, Very rare someone doesn't smoke something. Weed, tobacco, K2, meth, crack, something. Everyone's smoking something, and you don't got to be anybody special to get your hands on that. AJ says, what about forcing medication on inmates that they genuinely think they don't need, especially psych meds to control them in some way? I honestly don't think there's really a big problem with stuff like that happening. There's guys who are heavily medicated, to the point where they just become a shell of their former self. There's such a limited space for people who need that serious and that heavy of a psychiatric drug, and if they are on that drug, they don't keep them around the other inmates who aren't on those drugs. They kind of group them all together in medical wards or psych wards, specific parts of the prison for those inmates, and they're all housed there together. There's some guys who actually try to pretend to be crazy to get access to some of these meds because they can't handle the reality of their new situation in prison, and they just want these meds to kind of just take all that pain away, numb it. They want to be oblivious. They want to sleep their time away, which a lot of those meds will make you do. And, they'll try to get those meds. So I think you have more people trying to get on them who shouldn't be on them than people who are forced to take these meds who really don't want it. No, I'm fine. I don't need it. They don't really force you to take meds. If you don't want to take these meds and they're actual, very heavy psychiatric meds, and they really think you need them, and they even have you housed in this specific area of the prison for all those kinds of people, and you just refuse to take them, they're probably just going to say, well, you're a risk. If you're not going to take your medication, you are a risk. You're a danger to inmates and the staff since you're not taking your medication, and they'll probably isolate you further than you already are, probably be put in a more secure part of that prison where you're isolated and you probably don't get to come out at all except maybe 30 minutes a day to get a quick shower. And even then you're chained. Your hands and feet are chained. And that's probably more what they would do. I've never known them to just hold an inmate down and be like, oh. Six Styles says, toilet paper skirts? That specifically, I don't think I've ever seen that. Wouldn't put it past an inmate somewhere out in the world that they would probably fashion a toilet paper skirt if they were trying to look all, good for the other guy inmates. I've seen some equally out there things as far as someone trying to dress seductively. I've seen people make mesh fishnet see-through mini skirts out of these mesh kind of laundry bags that they use to put their canteen and commissary in, and they're blue, so they'll have these these blue mesh commissary bags that they cut up and kind of sew and shape and fashion into these dresses, mini skirts, fishnets, whatever you want. I've seen inmates take the heads off of the mops, so it's just a strings, a new mop, and they may wear that as a wig. I've even seen them dye it using Kool-Aid powder or sodas, grape sodas, to turn it purple or orange, whatever you want. So yeah, I can't say it's not true. I'm sure they do that somewhere. I haven't seen it, but I believe it just because of some of the things I have seen. Knoxville Predator Catcher says, what about a honey bun on the pillow? I guess that's the old cliche. When you first walk in your cell, if you find a honey bun or something on your pillow, don't take it because that's your cellmate or another inmate leaving a trap. Pick the honey bun up and eat it. I've heard maybe if you bend over to pick it up, that's when they get you, kind of like dropping the soap. Or if you eat it, they're going to approach you and say, hey, now you owe me something. And there's only one form of payment I want, Buster. Again, that kind of goes back to the other thing I was talking about. I guess that really depends on the prison and if that type of stuff commonly goes on there. But either way, I don't if that stuff does happen there, for instance, I don't think a honey bun on the pillow is going to be the preferred tactic here, if they're trying to go about it. If they're going to attack you and sexually assault you, they're probably not going to give you any type of indication or hint that it's even coming, and they're just going to do it, and they get a good chance. Or they may just directly tell you, hey, this is what time it is, this is what's about to happen. There's no need for than to do these little tricky tricks, honey bun on your pillow stuff. I mean, those guys, if they're going to take something and they want to try it, they'll just tell you, hey, game time, what's up? I will say, it's not a made-up cliche at all that when you get there, you're probably going to have somebody try to extend an invitation of friendship or something, and just a general, common courtesy. They may say, hey man, you hungry? I know you probably been on the bus all day. You probably came from somewhere where, you weren't able to get commissary and stuff. You want a honey bun? I got a few extra. Or you want a soup? You need something for the night? Don't worry about it. Don't pay it back. Or, just get it back to me on store day. But yeah, here you go. No big deal. And that's that. There's no hidden meaning or no, sinister reasons behind them doing that. Just a bunch of guys in a bad situation where sometimes, hey, you'll have some people reach out and help you in small ways. That's it for now. Thanks to everyone who participated. If I didn't get to your comment or your cliche you wanted me to cover, I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and make sure I schedule in a part 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, please subscribe if you haven't already, because I will be back soon with another video.